Hello, this is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan, Google Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, or iHeartRadio. This is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan. Alright, we got some good stuff on my first day back. Apologies for the longer break than promised. Obviously, what was it, I think it was June 24th. The last time I did a podcast, June 24th. Told you guys I would be away for a week. And then after that, I went on vacation after that for another week. And then last week, I just never got to it, in all honesty. So, apologies for that. But as I said, I'm just going to get in as many podcasts as I can. I really, fortunately, contradictory to the name, I cannot get on this podcast every day at the moment. But, summer is the best time for it, so gonna do my best to take advantage of it. So I actually have a lot of things to cover today. Alright. So, the NFL running backs had a meeting on Zoom about the financial state of the position. Obviously, there's been a lot of unhappy running backs coming out saying, they've come out publicly unhappy about how teams are handling their salaries. And, I think they're kind of being squeezed out of the league as far as importance goes. Because, I don't think they're in high demand as much as quarterbacks are, and, probably the number one receiver on that team. You want to make sure, really, you only want to make sure quarterback is paid. You really don't have to pay star receiver that much either. It seems, in my opinion, the recipe for a Super Bowl team, a good, solid, knowledgeable coach, the right quarterback, a solid defense, and maybe a star receiver to go along with the quarterback. And even that isn't that big a deal. Like with the Patriots dynasty, they never had a star receiver, really. They had a primary guy that Brady threw to. There was Edelman. I shouldn't say they never did. At one point, there was Randy Moss, who was a big star at the time, but, Edelman wasn't a big number one guy. He wasn't of, Devontae Adams caliber player or whatever. He was the primary target. He wasn't a superstar, is what I'm trying to get at. But with running backs, it's like when you look at the past few Super Bowl champions, obviously the Chiefs have won 2 in the last 4 years. And they don't really have they don't have big name running backs. They don't have a Nick Chubb. They don't have a Dalvin Cook. They don't have a Derrick Henry. They have Jerick McKinnon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Damian Williams. And yes, those guys are solid. But, guys like Dalvin Cook and Saquon Barkley, they're asking for a lot of money for a position that isn't really all that important when you're trying to contend for a Super Bowl. So, like I said, I think franchise quarterback, knowledgeable head coach, solid defense, solid O-line too. I think you need a good O-line for a Super Bowl team. And maybe a top-tier receiver to pair with your quarterback. Those are the 5, I'd say. Top receiver to pair with your quarterback, franchise quarterback, knowledgeable head coach, good O-line, good defense. Those are the 5. All right, this rolls me right into the next topic. Giants defensive back Xavier McKinney said the team won't be mad, or at least he said he'd be in support of Saquon if he didn't go to camp. I absolutely disagree. I think you should go to training camp. I genuinely, when Rodgers was kind of skipping that stuff, I wasn't very supportive of that. I didn't mind when he was missing those voluntary OTAs. That didn't matter to me, because that's more for rookies and newcomers to the team anyway. So obviously Rodgers was neither a rookie or a newcomer to the team, so I didn't think it mattered that he was missing those voluntary OTAs. But when he started missing training camp, it was a little I was a little iffy about that. So I don't think he really has a right to miss OTAs, because it's not like the Giants haven't made an effort to sign Saquon. He turned down a deal that gave him $13 million a year, $19.5 million guaranteed. He turned down a deal like that, and that's a good deal. I understand it's not big. It wouldn't make him the highest paid running back, and I think that's what he's looking for, but he really shouldn't. And, it's not all. The Giants aren't completely not at fault here. You paid Daniel Jones, who had 15 passing touchdowns last year. You paid him $40 million, and you paid him before Saquon Barkley, who had 1,600 yards from scrimmage last year. All right, and I know I said, I know this kind of contradicts what I just said. Get your quarterback right first before you pay your running back. And the thing is, I don't think Daniel Jones is the right guy. But also, it's very complex, the situation. Because we just saw what happens when the Cowboys paid Elliott before they paid Dak. They were completely screwed. Because then they had to go... Because then they gave Dak Prescott all the leverage, and they had to pay him... They didn't have to pay him a lot, but they really put themselves in cap hell paying Elliott before Dak. So I get what the Giants are doing, but I don't think they should have paid Daniel Jones that kind of money, because Daniel Jones isn't a top-tier quarterback. I think it's kind of a Jimmy Garoppolo situation where he works in Brian Dable's... Brian Dable found a way to make him work. Kyle Shanahan found a way to make Garoppolo work. Garoppolo and Jones, I don't think Jones is a terrible quarterback like he was his first 2 years. But I don't think he's great or good by any means either. I think he's bridge quarterback, kind of just a game manager, He isn't really the star. I couldn't have the star on the show. But, Shanahan... I'm really rambling here, I'm sorry. But coaches like Shanahan and Dable, they don't really need a star quarterback to succeed. That's okay, but I think both the Giants and Saquon have some fault in the situation. What I'm worried about for Saquon is, could this turn into a Le'Veon Bell situation where Le'Veon Bell held out, signed with the Jets for less money than he would have gotten if he signed that contract with the Steelers, and then have your career kind of plummet? I wouldn't want that. I don't think I want that, or anyone that's close to Saquon would want that to happen to him. So you have to be careful, as, and this situation's very complex, like I said. But here's the difference between Le'Veon Bell's situation and Saquon's. With Le'Veon Bell, I think the Steelers were okay to cut him loose because they still had, even without Le'Veon Bell, they still had Big Ben, was still doing pretty well. They still had a solid offensive line. They had Antonio Brown before he went crazy. And they had a solid defense. The Steelers were a playoff team without Le'Veon Bell. They may have not been a Super Bowl team, but they were a playoff team without Le'Veon Bell. The same can't be said about the Giants. That's why the Giants have to be careful with the situation. Because if they let Saquon walk, they are no longer a playoff team. They can't make the playoffs without Saquon. So, where they messed up. Alright, it's already been 11 minutes on two topics, so I'm going to try to wrap this up. Where the Giants messed up, this is what I'm trying to say. Where the Giants messed up was paying Daniel Jones that much money. I don't think this would be a problem if they didn't give Daniel Jones $40 million a year. I think Daniel Jones could have very well been bought for much less, given his performance. Like I said, 15 touchdowns last year. And yes, it worked for them. It got them to the playoffs. But that's because Brian Daboll knew what to do. Take the ball out of Daniel Jones' hands, put it into Saquon's. Rely more on Saquon. If you keep the ball in Daniel Jones' hands, you're going to turn the ball over at some point. Because that's what Daniel Jones was his first 2 years. A turnover machine. So, right now, they just gotta hope Barkley. They just gotta come to a compromise with Barkley, and it's gonna be tough, but really should not have paid that much money for a bridge quarterback. All right, let's move on to some basketball here. So, Steph Curry excluded, he was asked to give a starting five, all-time starting five. It's a question that's been asked to a lot of players. Steph Curry, and a lot of people are nitpicking. It's like, oh, he didn't put LeBron in the starting five. I would put LeBron. I'll give my starting five in a little bit. I would put LeBron in there. But his starting five was pretty good, honestly. He had Magic, Jordan, Kobe, and I believe he had Duncan and Shaq, so solid. I don't think Kobe should be at the 3. But what I thought was interesting was he excluded both himself and LeBron. So when you think about where LeBron and Steph were in that 5-year period, they were pretty much where they were like Bird and Magic in the 80s. So is it possible that Steph used himself to be on the same level as LeBron all time, and that's why he excluded both of them? And it could also be Steph just putting, just being humble about himself, because honestly, a lot of players I've seen do these top 5 lists is they've put themselves in there. And a lot of them don't deserve to be in there. But yeah, I think it's very possible, because Bird and Magic were on the same level. And Steph, his record in the finals against LeBron holds up. They are pretty much even when you look at it in that concept. Personally, I think most people will say this. LeBron has accomplished a lot more than Curry in his career, statistically speaking. But honestly, this whole GOAT debate really depends on how you look at it. Steph Curry was definitely more influential, more impactful he changed the course of the game. He made it more... He made shooting matter. He made three-point shooting matter, essentially. And honestly, for a while, three-point shooting was irrelevant until he came in and started shooting consistently 45%. And obviously, Jordan had a huge impact on basketball. That's an argument I get a lot when I talk about the GOAT debate with others. Jordan changed the game. He made it significantly more popular than it ever was. Basketball will not be as popular as it is today without Jordan. Is pretty much what I'm getting at. All right, so here's what my starting five would be. I would put Magic at the one personally. An argument could be made for Curry. But here's the thing. I think a lot of people mix up. Like when they hear all-time starting five, they put the best player of all time at each position. But when I look at it, I think all-time players who would mold together best. That's what I look at it. Because think about it. If you did the best at every position, it would probably be point guard Magic, shooting guard Jordan, small forward LeBron, power forward Tim Duncan, center probably Kareem. Now you're not incorrect in saying those are the best at each position, but I don't think that starting five goes over well. I mean, you have no shooting in that. Like, no one in that starting five can really shoot. And and also it could be better. That's the thing. It could be, and there is one change I would make. I do believe Kareem is the best center to ever play. But I would put, if I was asked my all-time starting five, the first four remain. Magic for passing, Jordan for defense and overall scoring, LeBron for pretty much whatever we need other than free throw shooting, Tim Duncan for post scoring and defense, and also Shaq for defense. And that's why I said an argument could be made for Curry, because without Curry there is no shooting for the team there. But yeah, pretty much my starting five would be Magic at the 1, Jordan at the 2, LeBron at the 3, Duncan at the 4, Shaq at the 5. But I do think it's interesting that Curry left himself and LeBron out, because most people, if you ask most people their starting five all time, they might include both Curry and LeBron. So I think it's very possible Curry and LeBron view themselves as kind of on the same level. I don't know. We'd have to ask LeBron his all-time starting five. All right, so Nyheim Hines is expected to miss the entire season after his jet ski accident and his knee surgery. It's very disappointing. I think Nyheim Hines is honestly a little underrated as a running back. And it honestly is even sadder because it's not really his fault. He was hit by another jet ski in the accident. And it's very unfortunate for both him and the Bills. As far as what the Bills will do, I don't think Dalvin Cook is going there. I'll get that out of the way. There's been some speculation about that. I don't believe Dalvin Cook's going to the Bills. For a few reasons. I don't think the Bills are going to offer him the money he's looking for, so he'll decline the deal. And also, his brother, James Cook, has a chance to get a starting job. So it would be a jerk move for him to go to the Bills when his brother finally has a chance to get a starting position in the NFL. Alright. So, in this day and age, as much as you might roll your eyes at it, it does matter what athletes do on social media. So Harden removed the Sixers from his Instagram. And I think it's just further confirmation. Harden does not want to play there. I think it's clear. Now, Harden did say if they don't trade him, he will show up to camp. What I'm worried is going to happen is that, what happened in Houston 2 years ago when he was showing up to the games, but he was severely out of shape. He got so chubby. And I know there are theories that he was stuffing his jersey to make himself look bigger. But I don't think that's true. I think he genuinely let himself go because he didn't want to play for the Rockets. So I'm worried he might do that with the Sixers to get out of there, while also not looking like too much of a jerk. But it's like he's not the player he was. It might be hard to trade him, honestly. Like, the Sixers could be looking to trade him, and teams just don't really want Harden anymore. He's not even close to the player he was a few years ago. He has nowhere near the value he used to have. He's regressed greatly. And he's never been great in the playoffs. Why would teams be going after him? He's getting up there in age, too. It doesn't help. But I guess we'll see what happens. James Harden's very unpredictable. All right, let's move on to baseball here. So there's been some Ohtani trade rumors going around. Angels have been taking calls for teams that are looking to get the best player in baseball. Now, as a Yankee fan, I am skeptical. Obviously, if the Yankees get him, it would be great. It's just we'd have to give up so much. Like, so many prospects. I mean, I don't mind if we get rid of, like, a Josh Donaldson or an Anthony Volpe. I don't mind if we get rid of those guys because, first of all, Josh Donaldson is just not even close. He has not been nearly what we wanted from him. I don't mind if we get rid of those guys, but we're probably going to have to get rid of some of our best prospects in the minor league. And the Yankees have the best minor league system in the league by far. Like, it could actually be bad in the long term for the Yankees to get rid of those guys for Ohtani. But I think the Yankees would be his best option, honestly. But then again, it's not up to Ohtani, it's up to the Angels. But I think the Yankees are the best option for the Angels, too. The Angels, they've been running this Mike Trout train for years and have gotten nowhere. The last time they won a playoff game was in 2014. They've been dealing with this. They have two of the best players in baseball. And they haven't done anything. Just reset. Stop doing the same thing over and over again and looking for a different result, because it's not going to happen. Ohtani's going to light up every team, but if he gives up one run, they're going to lose. And Trout's been having some injury problems. I think don't waste Ohtani's career like you did Trout's. Get him out of there. And honestly, you get solid prospects if you trade with the Yankees. I'm just saying. All right. So, I saw a connection on The Herd today. I don't always love watching The Herd without, when Colin Cowherd isn't the host. Today, Jason McIntyre was on it. But he did make a very good connection and a solid point. So, the last dynasty, the Patriots. First of all, it lasted for almost 2 decades. It had 2 constants, Brady and Belichick, a quarterback and a coach. And that's why I think the quarterback and the coach are the 2 most important things you need for a Super Bowl team. But anyway, his connection. So, the 2 constants were Brady and Belichick. But everything else was kind of filler. They went through different receivers. It was Danny Amendola, Edelman, Randy Moss. Who was that guy that won a Super Bowl MVP once? What was it, Deion Smith? They had the Gronk, Aaron Hernandez era. Very short, but it was an era. And, and there were different running backs. They had the Garrett Blount one year, James White. They went through, they filled almost every other, and their defense was always very good because Bill Belichick's a great defensive coach. But pretty much the 2 constants, Brady, Belichick. Everything else was filler. So the Chiefs could be losing. They lost Juju, who was probably their number 1 receiver last year. So Kadarius Toney he actually has a big stock in fantasy right now, up until today. Now that he has an injury. But people may view that as a problem for the Chiefs, but honestly, the Chiefs have been following a very similar formula to the Pats. They got Mahomes and Andy Reid, their quarterback and coach. They've gone through different running backs and different receivers. And they've kind of kept their O-line solid over the years like the Patriots did. And they've kept their defense good enough. But, their running backs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they had Jerick McKinnon, they have Isaiah Pacheco. Right now, they've gone through different running backs. Receivers, Chris Conley, McCole Hardman, Sammy Watkins in his older days still worked. Yeah, Chris Conley, Sammy Watkins, Juju last year, Damian Williams, the 1 Super Bowl year. And, you could argue Travis Kelce is a constant here. But you can also argue Rob Gronkowski was a constant with the Patriots. So the formula is actually very similar between the Pats dynasty and the Chiefs dynasty. And also you have to nail the draft as well. You can't ruin a draft. What's it called? You can't blow it on a draft pick. The only difference is Belichick was more of a defensive-minded coach. Or, he was a defensive-minded coach. Andy Reid's more of an offensive-minded coach. But yeah, the formula, the model is very similar. This is the model of the dynasty, it seems like. The Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls in 4 years. The Pats won 3 in 4 years. But yeah. And think about it. One of the people that beat the Chiefs was Tom Brady. But yeah, I thought it was interesting that Jason McIntyre pointed that out this afternoon on The Herd. So just something to think about. The Chiefs have a good thing going for them right now. All right, we're going to do a Where Did I Go Wrong segment here. Some of these might be repeats, I'm sorry. I don't remember what I've been using over the past year. So the first one, Geno Smith won the quarterback battle. I really thought Drew Lock had that. And the Seahawks went 9-8. I said last year, no matter who wins quarterback, I don't like Seattle this year. I don't like them. They're not in a good spot. They're in a horrible spot. Offensively, their coach, they have the oldest coach in the league. And then they picked... I said, but if I had to pick one, I would go Drew Lock. Geno Smith already tried it in this league. He tried being a starter. He wasn't good with the Jets. He spent the last few years as a backup. Hasn't showed much more promise. Drew Lock is still kind of young. He still has some time to grow. So I said Drew Lock should be the guy. They picked Geno Smith. I was like, all right, well, they're going like 4-13 now. Yeah, they went 9-8, made the playoffs. Or no, they didn't make the playoffs. Sorry, that was stupid. But they had a winning record. It was crazy. I did not think they would have a winning record. That was a big surprise to me. All right, I don't know if I talked about this much, but the Mavericks, I had high hopes for them. They made the Western Conference Finals last year. This year, they didn't make the playoffs. Now, I was partially right about this. Because I said when they got Kyrie Irving that they were going to go down. They had a big drop this year. Completely plummeted. As did the Yankees. That's another thing I'm wrong about. The Yankees are at the bottom of the division right now. Now, I didn't think they were going to... I didn't know if they were going to win or not. I thought they'd at least be in contention. In a position to win. But no. The Yankees are 5th in the AL East right now. Thankfully, they're only 2 games back from the wild card. But I don't know what's happening. I mean, hey, we won 2 games in a row against the Royals. That's not helping me. That's not making me feel any better about the Yankees right now. All right. I said last year there were so many times when I said, "Oh, the Broncos 1 quarterback away. They got Russell Wilson. They're going to win the division." No, they were 4-11 with Russ as the starter. And Russ, I wish I had the stats pulled up here. He had statistically the worst season of his career by far. I thought this would be one of his best. He had so many seasons with a terrible... Well, I wouldn't say terrible, but his O-line was subpar for a while. And he did fine. This year, he had a better O-line than he had with the Seahawks, and he did much worse. All right. That's the end of that segment. So Kadarius... I'm going to go back to the Kadarius Toney injury. Like I said, it shouldn't matter for the Chiefs. They'll find someone. And Patrick Mahomes is probably going to put up the same stats. I actually thought last year... I think I had the Chiefs 3rd in the division last year. At the beginning of last year. Because I thought losing Tyreek Hill would be such a blow to the Chiefs that they would have nothing. But no. So I'm confident that Mahomes, whoever he finds, he'll still throw for like 5,000 yards with them. But you know who Kadarius Toney reminds me of? Like, he's a very versatile player. He's actually more like Deebo Samuel than we give him credit for. He can kind of do whatever you want him to do in the offense. Can take kick returns. He can be a receiver. You can throw him on an end around. So he's actually more like Debo than we give him credit for. But you know who was Debo before Debo, sorry. Percy Harvin. He scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl with the Seahawks in 2014. That's how I got to know who he was, because that's when I started watching football, 2014. They both actually went to Florida, which is another connection. But yeah, Kadarius Toney, I think he's a very versatile player. I think he had a decent year last year, and I think if he's healthy, he'll have a solid year this year. But I don't know. Andy Reid kind of downplayed it, said the injury was kind of just like a tweak, not anything crazy. But we'll see. All right, so Chris Jones. That was terrible. Chris Jones of the Chiefs, best defensive player for them. He did not show up to camp, and apparently he is far away from a new deal with the team. Now, I would say he's the top 5 defensive tackle in the league right now. He's currently the 8th highest paid, so I don't think it's too far back. He said he's seeking $30 million a year, which would put him second only behind Aaron Donald. I don't think it's a coincidence that this problem's arising after Quinnen Williams' contract, because Chris Jones is right with, if not better, probably better than Quinnen Williams right now. I would say 25 to 26 million more accurate. If he has 26 million, it would put him at number 4, just in front of Myles Garrett, right behind Joey Bosa. Yeah. Because you look at the guys he's behind right now. He has 20 million a year. He's behind Khalil Mack. I'd probably take Chris Jones above Khalil Mack. Jeffrey Simmons, I'd take Chris Jones. Probably take him over Max Crosby. And I would say Quinnen Williams. I don't know if I wouldn't take him over Myles Garrett, though. So it's probably 25, 26 million. 25 probably more accurate given his age. But this is the problem when teams make, I wouldn't say stupid deals, because paying Quinnen Williams wasn't stupid on the Jets' part. But it's like, this is the problem with increasing salary in the league. Like, that was the problem the Ravens ran into with Lamar Jackson last year. Because the Browns paid Deshaun Watson, who wasn't going to play for the first 3 months. They paid him fully guaranteed money and a huge contract. Lamar Jackson has nothing. He has no cases against him. He hasn't had a big injury. He was pretty much guaranteed to play the full year, and the Ravens haven't paid him. So he saw what was going on with Deshaun Watson and was like, hey, can I get some of that? You know, I think a similar thing's happening with Chris Jones. He probably sees himself as in the same class as the Myles Garrett's, Quinnen Williams, and, Joey Bosa's. Obviously, I wouldn't say he's Aaron Donald. I don't know what he thinks, but he sees himself in that area, and he thinks his salary should reflect that. That's the problem with this increasing salary. But yeah, $25, $26 million a year. I wouldn't go over that if I was the Chiefs. At least see if he would be okay with that. I don't see why I would turn it down, but I also don't see why Saquon would turn down a $13 million deal. But I'm not in these guys' heads, don't know what's going on, so I'm not going to judge too much. Alright, so there's a lot of talk about salaries and contracts today. I guess welcome to the NFL offseason. So Davante Adams said that the Raiders need Jacobs in order to reach their elite aspirations, which I'm assuming is the Super Bowl. Now, Josh Jacobs is a solid running back. I would argue top 5. And like I said, I don't think holding out is a good idea because you saw what happened to Le'Veon Bell, man. like I said, he got less money from the Jets than he would have gotten if he took the contract offered him by the Steelers. Because I think it's a bad idea to turn down like a $10 million contract per year and then hold out when you most likely won't get any more than that. You know, it's really funny. I don't think this Raiders thing is working out for Davante Adams, man. I don't think it's working out. Because, you know, part of the appeal of going there was, hey, my buddy Derek Carr. And, hey. They did Derek Carr dirty. And now they got Josh Jacobs. I think this is going to be a rough locker room. And that, I think, the louder the team, the worse it is. That's why I think the Packers were worse the last 2 years. At least part of it. You know, obviously last year losing Davante Adams is something, but their performance the last 2 years has not been as solid as it was the years before. And I think a lot of that is because of the Aaron Rodgers drama and how loud the team was. That's why I'm not too high on the Bills this year. I'm sure the Bills will still make the playoffs, but there's a possibility they can be a first-round exit with all that's going on with them and the loss of Brian Dable. All right. The AFC is stacked, man. They really are. Like, it's hard to pinpoint where the Bills would be. Like, I would say the Chiefs, Bengals, and I would still put the Bills in that top class of the AFC. Yeah. And probably the top class of the league as well. The Eagles fall somewhere in there, but I think they're behind the Bills, Bengals, and Chiefs. You know, I'm going to keep the Bills there, but I'm not sure what's going to happen with them. Yeah, the AFC. Not the Jets, we don't know what they're going to do. But the Ravens as well. I think the Jets are going to be a solid team. I'd say 10-7, 11-6. Maybe win a playoff game, but I don't think anything past that. Yeah. And even there's an interesting middle pack in the AFC as well. Steelers are interesting. They won 6 of their last 7 last year. Dolphins are another team that people are high on. Jags are very interesting. They were really good last year. Doug Peterson is a great coach. Trevor Lawrence showed a lot of promise. Broncos are interesting with Sean Payton, the new coaching change. Chargers are always interesting every year. Obviously, they have a top 7 quarterback, maybe top 5, probably top 5. Justin Herbert. They have a good offense. We just don't know about their coach. Then there's some teams I'm not too crazy about. Browns I'm not crazy about. Titans, Texans, Raiders, Patriots. I'm not crazy about them, but alright. Shift back to baseball, back to Ohtani. So the Angels are talking about trade scenarios. I forget where I saw this, but there was a website that said, although the Angels are, where are they? Like 4 games back from the wild card, they're only given a 9% chance of making the playoffs. Which isn't shocking, because the Angels are always going to have close to an average record thanks to Ohtani and Trout, but they always find a way to screw it up. I mean, they haven't won since 2014, so it's not shocking considering their last decade, the performance they've had the last decade. It's been subpar to put it nicely, to put it kindly. But hey, we're 8 days before the deadline. This is probably going to get milked until the last day of the deadline. And I will be, promise this is the last time this summer that I'm going away. But from the 29th to the 4th, be away again. So August 1st, the day of the deadline. I'll come back on the 5th, hopefully. Or, wait, when is the 5th? Yeah. I don't know. Sometime around there. Maybe the 7th. I don't know. Sometime in early August, I'll come back with my thoughts on the trade deadline, alright? But it's just... I'd like for him to be on the Yankees, but I'm not sure how crazy I am about the Yankees giving up like 5 to 6 prospects. Because they're... Oh my god, their farming system's so good. I don't know. We gotta do something, because whatever we're doing right now, whatever the Yankees are doing right now is not working. You know, and I get that it's a lot of pressure, because when there's a team that has as much success as the Yankees, well, obviously the Yankees are like the most successful franchise in sports, but when there's a team that has a very successful franchise, you know, fans get used to that. Fans get a little spoiled, and when something goes wrong, it's like, oh my god, fire everybody. Like, that's kind of what happened to me. Because, like I said, I started watching football in 2014, and I was really spoiled with a lot of great seasons by the Packers. And the first time the Packers had a bad season, it was like 2019, I believe. I remember their record, too. It was 6-9-1. They almost lost to the Browns in their 0-16 season. And I was just all, okay, fire McCarthy, you know, trade this guy. And I really doubled down on firing McCarthy. And thankfully that is a rare situation where it was the time to fire McCarthy. But, you know, and the year after, I was like, okay, we gotta get a receiver. We got no one. Obviously, we did not get a receiver in the draft. But hey, we got A.J. Dillon, who's been solid. Robert Tonyan had like 1 or 2 good years. I don't know what happened to him, but... You know, the draft picks we had didn't all bust. And Jordan Love, we're still not sure about yet, in all honesty. I mean, people are going to roll their eyes when they hear me say that, but I still have hope for Jordan Love. But yeah, especially with the Yankees. Yankees fans are really spoiled. Really spoiled. You know, and I'm like, I'm surprised it took them so long to fire Girardi, because people were all over them about that. It's surprising they didn't crack sooner. I don't think firing Aaron Boone is the answer. I think we have to make some moves. That's what I think. Gotta make a move. It's hard to pinpoint what we need, because our team is structured well. We are well ran. We just can't get a World Series. The last few years, it's a lot like the Packers. You know, they make the NFC Championship a lot, but they never brought it home. And it's hard to pinpoint when you're that close. You know, obviously your team is good, so it's hard to pinpoint what you need. Like, when your team is bad, it's a lot easier to see. It's a lot easier to think about what positions you have to get. Like, obviously a quarterback is usually the first answer for a bad team in the NFL. But the Yankees, it's hard because they're structured right. What always happens with the Yankees, I feel like, the excuse always is, we had a lot of injuries. Well, why are our players always injured? Like, why does that happen? There has to be something we're doing wrong, maybe in training. I don't know. I think right now, we have to make don't go crazy on the moves. I'm not saying trade everyone. I'm saying get rid of maybe Josh Donaldson. That's what I'm saying, actually. Get rid of Josh Donaldson. Get him out of here. All right? He's terrible. I shouldn't say he's terrible. He had a few good years, but I think his best days are very much behind him. And I think we can trade him and some prospects for a bigger piece. Like Ohtani. Yeah. It would be nice if we got one of the big players at the deadline, because last year was so annoying. I was on vacation, and I'm watching all these guys go. I'm like, come on, man. The Yankees are the richest franchise in sports. Like, come on, man. Just throw money at them. Just throw a casual $1 million over there, alright? Alright, we got 2 more topics, then I'm gonna end it off for today. Ooh, we're almost at an hour. Damn. Alright, so Dan Campbell says the Lions need to remain focused despite the hype surrounding the team. And I guess I'll say it. The Lions will probably win the NFC North. Okay, that's what I'll say. Lions are probably going to win the NFC North. Yeah. I don't have the Vikings winning it because I think they're going to slide back a bit. I do have them finishing second, though. I think that's a fair placement for them. And honestly, third and fourth is kind of a toss-up because I don't know. There's a lot of questions with the Bears and Packers. The Bears got a lot of pieces, which kind of does scare me. And we don't have the Bears co-owner anymore in Aaron Rodgers. We have Jordan Love, who doesn't even have an ownership stake in the Bears, which is really frightening. Because part of being a Packers fan is that part of the fun of being a Packers fan is that you get to destroy the Bears every year. So I hope Jordan Love brings the same thing. Obviously, if I were him, I wouldn't walk around saying I own this team. You know, Rodgers kind of... I wouldn't even say you earned the right, but... You know, after years of dominating them, I don't know what they expected him to say. But yeah, I got the Lions winning. They were a very solid team last year. Obviously, they ripped my heart out of my chest in the last game. But yeah, Lions, I got winning it. I got the Vikings in second, and we really don't know what awaits the Packers or the Bears, because we don't know. Honestly, I don't think there's much excuses this year if Justin Fields doesn't do anything with the Bears, because they did get weapons for him. There's not really that argument anymore. You know, there's still... I mean, Justin Fields showed promise last year, but... Yeah, the Bears and Packers are waiting on quarterbacks. Same thing with the Packers. That's the good thing about the Packers right now. They're not completely screwed. And I don't want to say they just lost Rodgers, because losing Rodgers is huge, but it's not like we have to do a complete rebuild. We got Christian Watson, we got Romeo Doubs. They're 2 very promising receivers. We have a really solid backfield. I'm surprised more people don't talk about how good the Packers' backfield is. A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is very versatile. He can catch it out of the backfield. Our O-line is pretty good. I wouldn't say it's that good. And same with the defense. You know, the defense can use some improvements. But we're not in a terrible spot, the Packers. Although I do owe Dan Campbell an apology. Because when the Lions hired him, I really did not like the hire. I did not think he'd be successful. But he's done a great job with them, I must say. And our final topic, Javonte Williams is he's actually looking like he's on track to return for week 1, which could be huge. But it could also be not so good, because ACL injuries like he had can be very impactful in a bad way. And yeah, some people can I mean, some people can come back from an ACL tear very well. Adrian Peterson won MVP the next year. But, you know, Victor Cruz went down crazy after that ACL tear. Kelvin Benjamin went down. Dalvin Cook had a decrease in performance. Jay Ajayi went way down after his ACL tear. So you never know what's going to happen the year after an ACL tear. But hopefully it can be a big help for the Broncos after a disastrous season last year. So, alright. That'll be it for today. Almost an hour. It's fine. I don't need to go on for an hour. There's no need to make a guest that do that. Alright. As I should be back tomorrow. But like I said, I'm going to get in as many as I can. And alright. This is Dylan on Daily Dose Google Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, or iHeartRadio. This is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose Have a good day.